Sony has just released the third generation DPT digital paper called the RP2 in the most convoluted way possible. Let me explain. In 2017, Sony Semiconductors Japan and E-Ink Holdings Taiwan created a JV, a joint venture in which they collaborated on several matters including releasing e-paper devices. So the foundation was established and now they had to find someone to actually make the shells. They turned to Linfini Japan. Linfini has already worked on previous units from Fujitsu to Alteric Note and a few others in between. So now they have the shells. There's one more piece of the puzzle. Who's going to release their devices? Sony has all but closed down its East and West Coast USA operations, and its Japan operations, although has a full line of e-paper devices, hasn't exactly been in the spotlight for quite some time. So they chose a company out of Taiwan called Readmoo. The last piece of the puzzle is finally in place, which brings us to the unit in question today, the DPT RP2, or, on the box, the Mooink Pro 13.3. Looking at the unit's construction, it's relatively unchanged from the RP1 with a few subtle differences. It's running USB-C, has an all-new backing, and now runs Wacom, which means you can use any pen on the market from Mitsubishi to Stadler and everyone in between. Not only that, the specs have been upgraded across the board, from more RAM to even a quad-core processor and 128 gigs onboard storage. So with all the history out of the way, let's take a look at the latest device that took 4 companies to make. First thing off is that the pen that comes with the unit is the base Wacom pen, so we're not even going to focus on that because it's just too vanilla for our taste. But the beauty about this unit is that you can use any pen under the sun. We've collected quite a large amount of pens over the years. We can use everything from the Air Pen to the Amazon Scribe pen, but what we're going to do is use the Pen 2 Pro by Onyx. This is a great pen, and it features the exact same tip you will find in the Quaderno, and the exact same tip you will find with the pen that comes with this unit, so that is what we're going to stick with. Now, something we must note is, as per the date of this upload, everything is currently only in Taiwanese, so you are going to have to wait for an update for the unit by going to the settings menu right there and clicking on the update section when it becomes available. It will be in the form of an OTA, over-the-air update. You will click on that, everything will turn into English. Right now, you can use things like your phone to use Google Lens over the screen in order to change everything to English or the language of your choosing. But for now, everything is in Taiwanese, so we'll kind of do an updated video once that gets addressed. The typing, however, with the keyboard is in full English, as you see right here. You can use the Chinese components to kind of make your Chinese characters, or you can just use the English keyboard. Also, you'll see you have a gyroscope in this unit, which the previous versions did not have. So you can tilt it like this, and it will actually turn into landscape. From here, you get a pretty sizable keyboard. You can almost use it as an actual keyboard. It's a little bit off kilter, and the keys are elongated rather than actually squared. These are rectangular, they're twice as wide as they are tall, so it's not the most natural feeling, but you absolutely could kind of take your notes in a rapid fashion like this using this keyboard. We don't advocate for Sony, we don't advocate for Readmoo or Linfini or anyone else, but I stood by this ever since it came out, and you can quote me if you want. This is the greatest writing feel of any e-note we have ever felt. It's better than Remarkable, it's better than Onyx, it's better than everything on the market. It's identical to the Fujitsu as well, because they use the same overall construction. It is so solid. It feels more realistic than anything you will ever feel. You do have some additional things up here too, so let's explore them. You have this, which gives you the ability to choose your pen. You have pencil, you have calligraphy pen, you have paintbrush, and you have highlighter. You also have different ways to erase. You can also highlight text if you are on a PDF document. You have black and gray, which is a level of gray, and you can choose different levels of gray and white if you want to switch in between the two pens using the side button, and you get different thicknesses of your pen. The different thicknesses of your pen is just for a starting point. You do get pressure sensitivity, so you get those nice hairlines, or you can get the thicker bleeds, so don't worry about that. They actually did advance the technology to a point where you do get pressure sensitivity, whereas on the RP1 you do not. You can also change where you want your palette. You can move it over here to the bottom, to the right, to the top, so you can put that where you feel most comfortable, and you can tap this drop down that gives you a ton of features. Again, this will all be in English later, but we have our selector tool, we have a zoom in, quick page jump, thumbnail directory, double page display, which we'll show you in a little bit, delete current page, handwriting checklist, all that fun stuff, and it's all just kind of protocol things. Now, one of the things we like is display side by side, which we want to branch into right now. When you have documents side by side, you can actually control both sides autonomously. So for example, if I'm over here on this side, I have the full control to choose my drop down, choose my text, choose the different kind of pens I have on this side, and then I can move over to this one and do the same thing, and I can just cross over as much as I want. Now, one of the beauties about this unit is that you don't have to activate each side. For example, if I draw a line here and a line there, they both trigger. A lot of the times on previous units and other devices, if you draw a line here and you try to draw a line here, it won't do anything on the first stroke. You have to actually activate it and then draw. But this one allows you to handle both of them as is, and all the functions work on both sides. Enough yapping, let's do some drawing. To be honest, it is subjective. Some people like a harder kind of glass surface, like they're writing on an iPad with an Apple Pen. That's not what you're going to get here. What you're going to get is a very realistic feeling, as if you're writing on printer paper with a graphite pencil or a lead pencil. It is a lot of reverberation through the pen. It's going to depend on what pen you're using, but the stock tips, at least, you get a lot of scratch. Now, there is a downside with having a screen that is so realistic and tips that are so realistic. They wear down quite quickly. And that is the trade-off, is that when you have something like a titanium tip on an Onyx, it's going to last forever. But you sacrifice the realism, so it's a balancing act. This one is the most realistic, but it wears down one of the quickest. Unlike all the previous models, including the current model of Fujitsu, this can read books, it can read EPUBs, it can read different formats of ebooks. You might notice, well, what's with this 2-page spread? The reason we did that, and you can change it, is because when you use the gyroscope, you see that you can twist it and change it into a 2-page spread landscape. This is very good. It looks like you're holding a book. Finally, this is two sides of a book. This is almost like a kind of a hardcover experience, and you can swipe pages like that. It's very quick. This uses a card, a 1250 screen, so ghosting is not really a problem. And if you want, you just click on the middle, click on the fonts, and you can change all your fonts, or even change it to a single page spread as well. Doing so gives you a full screen experience. You can go back here and change everything else aspect wise in terms of the font size, the font style, the font spacing, and everything else. You click the settings, OK, and it goes through the book and it changes it. It's clear, it's crisp, it's high quality, there's really no downsides, and it's actually quite white, we must say. If you compare that dead space to this dead space, you'll see it's not that stark of a difference compared to something like a color device that just inherently has a very gray undertone. This one is quite nice, it's up there with the paper whites, and there's no inconsistencies between the corner, where it's very rigid friendly, to the middle, where it is the weakest point of the device. All the touches work as well, regardless of where you are on the screen. And yes, you get all of the functionality to do all of your long presses and everything. Of course, again, if you're scrubbing through the video, everything is in Taiwanese right now, but it will be changed to English with an OTA over-the-air update. All things considered, take it as it is, but this is the only 13.3 inch made by Linfini out of Sony, Alteric Note, the Dasong, that has a dedicated bookstore. This has a bookstore, and it's quite a nice one. Readmoo Taiwan has a very good bookstore. However, majority of the content is going to be in Chinese. There will be some things that are in English, but everything's going to be in new Taiwanese dollars. You will have some information like ISBN that you can decipher into English, but everything's just going to be in Chinese, as you can see right there. So we have found some English content, but the majority of it is going to be in a language that you're going to have to either just kind of deal with for now until you get into an update in the future. But it is honestly not that bad. You can even download manga and graphic novels from here, and you can try them out as well prior to purchasing. Now, unfortunately, there aren't any apps in the traditional sense, and the only one currently is the typewriter we showed you earlier, but this is all going to change, and it's going to be a little bit clearer to all you guys when we do an updated video once we get an English firmware overlaying everything we see. So how much has changed in the end, really? Although they use the same front face, everything behind it, around it, and inside it has been updated. The ability to use any pen, the fact that it's faster, the back is made out of better materials, and overall it's just more usable and less restrictive, doing away with the PDF-only device mindset. It's kind of strange how this device took 4 companies to release, but we're glad to see yet another 13.3 inch we can add to the mix. Thanks for watching.